Hey y'all, it's your girl, Dr. J, back with another episode of Let It Flow with Dr. J. And today I want to actually talk to you guys about don't give up. If you are in a space, and this is a very, very real space to be in, where you're tired, you're frustrated, you're on the verge of giving up on your hopes, your dreams, on life itself, and you're just in that space of you've been doing all that you know how to do in your own strength, yet nothing seems to be working. No miracles seem to be happening in your life. No good thing seems to be coming your way. You just simply feel like, God, I can't catch a break and I'm tired. And believe it or not, I am that person. I know exactly what it feels like to be tired. I know exactly what it feels like to be frustrated. I know exactly what it feels like to be on the verge of throwing in the towel and feeling like, you know what? I've had enough. I'm done with all of this and I just need to step back. I know what that feels like. I know that it's a very real space to be in. And I know that there's a lot of things that can happen in your mind, in your emotions, your feelings, in your body that makes you feel like the best thing for you to do is to give up and let go of everything that you've been struggling with and everything that you've been trying so hard to accomplish. But I'm here to tell you, don't give up. Don't let the situations, the circumstances, the things that you're dealing with win. Because that's one of the easiest things to do is to give up. And it may seem hard in the moment, like, oh man, no, it's actually really hard for me to give up. No, that's actually the easy part, giving up and giving up on everything that you're looking to do. Like I said, giving up on those hopes and dreams and just walking away from everything. Like it's really an easy thing to do, but it's not the best thing for us to do. We have to stay in there. We have to continue to progress forward and do all that we need to do in order for us to get to the next level. And I'll share this story because I know where I was at a point in time in my life where I really felt like I wanted to give up, and it was so many things that was going on and so many things that I felt like was weighing on me, and it was putting me in a position of where giving up seemed like the best option. And when I say giving up, I mean suicide. Felt like the best option for me at that point in time, just based on everything that I felt like I had going on in my life and the very real space of being tired, of being frustrated, of being embarrassed, and just feeling all these different things inside of me with the situation at hand. So years ago, I mean, long time ago, I was very young, very inexperienced. I had moved away and decided to do life in a whole different area. And so I had gotten a new job. I had gotten a new place. I didn't have any family at the time in this space. And I was just like, okay, this seems like a great opportunity. But it really was me taking a leap of faith and going where God had called me to go. So that way I can do whatever He needed me to do in that space. And so things were going great. I had met a lot of wonderful people at my job. I had developed some new friendships. Like life was great. And before transitioning to this new place, I remember having a conversation with my sister, my middle sister, and she said to me, she said, I don't think you should do this. I don't think you should, be getting a new place and doing these things. And you just got this job. You don't know how it's going to work out. And it wasn't coming from a place of negativity and trying to just beat me down for the choices she felt like I was making. It was more so fear. And it was protection mode, wanting to make sure that I wasn't making choices that I was going to regret or putting myself in situations that I wasn't going to be able to handle because this was really my first venture away. And she had already done it before and had her own situations happen. And so it was, again, it was that big sister protection mode. Let me make sure, for you as the baby, let me make sure that you're good. And so I said, I'm going to do this because God didn't give you the vision. He didn't give you the instructions. He gave them to me. And when God gives us instructions, I'm a firm believer in walking in obedience and doing the things that He's called us to do. And so I went forward. I kept going. And, sometimes people don't understand that piece of it as well, that when God instructs you to do something and you've heard him clearly, the Holy Spirit is moving in your life and that's what you're supposed to do, you do it. Right. And so for me, that's where I was. And that's why I continued to progress forward with what I had been called to do. So I get there, I have the job. I think I had been on the job for about 8 or 9 months or so. And in the beginning, everything was going great. But in the end, there were a lot of things that started to happen. And there was a woman on this job that did not like me. When I say she didn't like me, she didn't want to hear my name. She didn't want to see me coming. She didn't want to have any dealings with me. And I'm thinking to myself, God, I don't even know this woman. I've never met her a day in my life before coming to this job. And I don't even interact with her on that level while I'm here on this job because, again, it's more of a high by type of situation with her. And that's it. Now, she was in a position of authority. It wasn't great authority, but she still had enough authority because lo and behold, I got laid off. And I couldn't figure out while I was there why she didn't like me until one day I realized that the root cause of it was a man. It was someone that she had an interest in that had no interest in her, but had an interest in me. And it was someone that I wasn't even thinking about on that level. We were just good friends. We just had a great time and we eat lunch together. We hung out outside of work. Like we were cool. That was pretty much the gist of our relationship. But for her on the outside looking in and us not sharing our relationship with her, she felt like I posed a threat to her. She felt like I was standing in the way of her being able to pursue a relationship with this person who actually had no interest in her and had even shared that with me. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't have an interest in her. But she felt like for me being in that space, being there, I was a threat. And sometimes people don't realize that they are being used by the devil to do certain things and they just do whatever and then they cause problems for other people because ultimately, like I said, they called it laying off, but they let me go. And I thought to myself, man, this is crazy. Like, how could this even happen? Like, I didn't even do anything to this woman. I didn't even do anything on the job for me to be let go. But, it happened. And so in the moment I walked out, head held high, like I know in my heart I didn't do anything. And I felt like, okay, I'm going to land another opportunity. It's going to be okay. Fast forward, it's been a little over 6 months and I was still unemployed. And before I even got to that 6 months, a little bit over 6 month mark, I tried to draw unemployment for the job as well. And then I got hit with, well, the employer said all of these things that you did this and you did that. So we're blocking your unemployment. And I'm thinking, what the heck? All those things are not true. And so now I was in a battle at one point to draw the unemployment so that way I could at least have, money coming in to help pay my bills and help take care of, other needs and stuff like that and making sure my family's good. Like I had to have something. And so, but fast forward to those about, like I said, a little over 6, 7 months, I would say later, I was still unemployed. I was still in a very real space of I had gotten tired. I was frustrated. I felt broken because there was so much rejection. There were so many people closing the door in my face, basically telling me that I wasn't good enough, basically telling me that, okay, you're underqualified. You're not capable of doing the jobs that you're applying for. Like I was feeling all of this rejection coming from left, right, up, down, sideways. Like it was a lot. And I was doing everything that I knew how to do. I was pounding the pavement. Back at that time, you were still applying using paper applications for a lot of companies. So I was going out applying for jobs. I was sending out my resume. I was looking at who had hiring signs in their windows, walking in, sharing copies of my resume, and I was landing interviews. That was the crazy part. I had interview after interview after interview, and I felt like I was doing excellent in my interviews. I was doing mock interviews. Like I was doing everything that I knew how to do in order for me to get a job to help take care of everything that needed to be taken care of financially. At the same time, I was in the middle of my second degree program. And so I was also trying to study, also trying to take care of my academics, also trying to make sure I stayed abreast of what was going on in the classroom, doing projects, trying to do everything in that regard as well, but also trying to make sure my mental state was intact. So it was a lot of different things that was weighing on me in that moment. And I just felt like, okay, God, I don't know what's happening because I'm trying. I'm trying to do whatever needs to be done. I'm literally almost doing backflips saying, hire me, because I'm just trying to land an opportunity so I can make sure everything is good. And then I got to the point where I went to one interview, and I think it may have been maybe my 20th or whatever interview at the time. And I went in, it was my fourth interview for that particular company. And so I had done everything that I knew how to do going to those interviews. And I thought, man, this is great. I made it to round four. Surely they're going to make me an offer pretty soon. They know who I am. I've come in and I've just done everything to make sure that I'm the right fit for this job. And I really enjoyed the job opportunity as far as what they shared with me that it would be like. And it got to the final round. And before I left for the day, they basically told me that I was not the best fit for the job, that they decided to pursue another candidate, and they thanked me for my time. And I'm thinking to myself, you have to be kidding me. Like, you've put me through all of these different things. Like, I have gone through the ringer trying to make sure that I have shown up for these interviews, that I've done all the tests, that I have done everything that I needed to do. And then you tell me that I'm not a good fit. Why would you bring me back four times? So in that moment, I was frustrated. I was angry. I was hurt. I felt like this is crazy. And I thought that everything that was going on in my life was a sheer reflection of me and my qualifications and who I was as a person. And so I was crushed. And I remember getting in my car and just crying before I pulled off, like, God, this can't be real. Like, why do I keep getting hit like this? Why do it feel like there's so much opposition? Like everything is fighting against me, and I'm not understanding what's happening in this moment. And so I remember getting ready to drive home, and I was so tired. And being tired and being frustrated is a very real place to be in. It's a place that can consume you if you allow it to. And it's just like, okay, God, I'm at the verge of I'm actually about to give up. And I made the decision that that's exactly what I was going to do, that everybody would be better off without me because obviously I can't cut it. I also had things running through my mind of, I left and I don't want people to see me coming back with my tail tucked between my legs, like, oh, she couldn't cut it. Oh, she's a failure. She couldn't make it. Look, she ran off. We told her it wasn't going to work out. We said this, we said that. And then going back, having to live with somebody, having to try to pick up the pieces and move forward with my life. And just ultimately, like I said, feeling like a failure. There was those things. There was the bills running through my head. There was thinking about my family. There was thinking about my degree that I was seeking. It was so much that was hitting me. It was like life was really lifing. You hear me? It was a lot going on, and just the weight of everything just felt unbearable at the time. And for some people, it may be like, well, it was just a job. It was just this. No, when you start piling all of those things one on top of another, and you start getting to all these different feelings and emotions and stress and all the stuff that can be weighing on you, it's more than just that. It's more than just a job. It's a lot of hurt. It's a lot of embarrassment. It's a lot of frustration. It's tired, feeling tired. And I said, you know what? God, this has been a lot. It's so much going on right now. And I'm done. I'm over with. And then I remember driving, and underneath where I was the interstate. So I was coming up like a little overpass or whatever they call it. And there was a lot of cars. Everybody's going fast. I think the speed limit may have been like 70 at that area. And so I was driving and I said, you know what? I'm tired. I'm done with this. And I remember turning my steering wheel to the right, and I tried to accelerate, but the wheel would not turn. And it was like the car wouldn't even speed up. And I'm fighting in the car, like, come on, because I'm trying to do this. I'm trying not to pass this area because that meant I had to turn around and come back around. And it was a long way to turn around and come back to that point. But I said, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. The car just would not do what I wanted it to do. And I was so angry. So I got home. I said, you know what? There's knives here. I'm gonna go in my kitchen. If I slit my wrist, if I do, these things, then, I can go ahead and just die, just kill myself. And that's exactly what my mindset was when I got in the house. I quickly opened the door and I'm like, okay, I can go in here and do this. And again, it was the same thing with the knives as it was with the car. It was like it was not working for me. And I said, God, it's got to be you. And I was so angry. And in that moment, I cursed God. And for people who know me like that, they know I'm not a person that's big on profanity. You got to scare me or you got to make me like really, really, really mad where you doing something to one of my babies, my family, something's going on that is going to make me 38 hot, and it's going to be a switch that comes on, and then you may get some colorful language in that regard. And I'm just being real, just being transparent. I'm not perfect, but and that was the realness of the situation. And I cursed God so bad. I told him I hated him. I didn't appreciate the struggle. I was just going through everything. And I spent the whole entire night crying, cursing God, being angry, and just so overwhelmed and frustrated by everything that was going on in my life and feeling like I'm struggling so much and I'm facing so much opposition and I don't understand why all of these things are happening. Like, God, I ain't even do nothing. It's how I felt. And so I was struggling in that moment trying to figure out what's going on in my life. And I just remember like it was yesterday, spending that whole night just in that space of anger, of frustration, of cursing God, and just feeling like he gave up on me. He left me. You said you would never leave me nor forsake me, and you did just that when you brought me here, because what's going on in my life. But they say joy comes in the morning. The next morning, I woke up and it felt like there was just something that came over me. I was refreshed in the sense of I repented. I asked God for forgiveness. I spent so much time on my knees, crying out, reaching out for God, and asking Him to forgive me for everything that happened the day before, for all of my doubt, for all the stuff I even had going through my mind prior to that day. Like, God, can you forgive me? And I spent so much time in that space of prayer, in that space of crying, in that space of God, I just need you to let me know that you forgive me for my sins and for everything that I've done. And the good thing about God is that he knows us. He knows what we're going to say and what we're going to do before we even do it. He understands who we are, and he also understands where we are. And it was that moment where God was able to reach down and to pull me up by my bootstraps, to pull me up out of the mess and the rut that I was in. And he reminded me of who he was, but he also reminded me of who I am and who I am in him. He reminded me that he is Jehovah Jireh, my provider. He reminded me that my hope, my faith, and my trust should not be in man. It should not be in a job. It should not be in resources. It should not be in my paycheck, because those things are not God. Those things don't have the authority to control my life and to control the outcome of what my life is going to be like, or the situations that I'm in. He reminded me of so many things in that moment, to the point where I had to step back and say, God, I surrender. I need you to lead. I need you to take control. I'm giving it to you. I need you to do this thing. I need rest. I need you to take this burden from me, because I don't know how to do it. I don't even know what I'm doing at this point in time. I can't even tell you what all I've been doing wrong, but what as far as the job hunt, but what I know that I have been doing wrong is that I've been out there on the battlefield with my sword saying, "Okay, God, I got this. Let me do it." And I'm out there trying to slay things, trying to do all these things, trying to accomplish so much in my own strength, that I forgot that I'm not supposed to be fighting the battles in my life. I forgot that I'm supposed to do what God has asked me to do in the natural, and He's going to do the supernatural. He's the miracle worker. He's the burden bearer. He's the one that takes care of every single thing that I can't do in my own strength. He's going to instruct me to do certain things, but then there's other things that I have to let go and let God. And those are the things that I was not focusing on. My relationship with God was not where it is in this moment. It was far from that. I still prayed, I still talked to God, I still read my Bible sparingly, maybe on Sunday, but I was disconnected as well. And that also played a part in what was going on in my life and where I was in my life, because there was a disconnect. Because I was out there again on the front line, slaying demons, doing things that I felt like I needed to do and that only I was capable of doing. And it was like, no, 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 daughter, that's not what I've asked you to do. You're taking on far too much and you're trying to accomplish everything on your own, and you are where you are. And I felt like, you know what, God, you're absolutely right. And so I surrender all. And I stepped back and I said, God, you do it. You take control, because this is something that I can't handle on my own. Obviously, where I am, I can't handle it. And then I think what, 3, maybe 4 days later, I got a phone call for an interview. I went in for an interview. I think I was hired. I don't even think I came back for a second interview. And in this particular industry, I had 0 experience. Like, I had never worked in the insurance field before a day in my life. I could tell you about my auto insurance. I could tell you about, different things related to a renter's policy, but I couldn't, as from a personal perspective, but I could not talk to you about the inside details of being in insurance. And so God gave me new skills in this job opportunity, where I learned about auto insurance, I learned about home insurance and renters insurance, I learned about claims and all those different things. I learned so much, but I also met so many great people, so many people that I was able to help with their auto insurance and their home insurance, and so many people that I was able to help beyond that. Even when I left that job, I was still able to support people, to encourage people, to educate people regarding insurance, that I didn't even realize that in that moment, that how that one job, that one opportunity that God gave me, that I again had 0 experience in, that if I would have walked in there with my resume on my own accord and said, "Hey, here's me, I'm applying for this job," and that shows no insurance experience on my resume, they probably would have closed the door in my face, and that'd have been yet another rejection. That's probably exactly what they would have done, because the crazy part was there were 2 companies that I had already interviewed with, and that one that I had 4 rounds with was insurance. And they decided not to hire me. And I went in my own strength and had those 4 interviews, those 4 rounds with that company, but they still decided not to hire me. Yet I go into this space where God has opened the door, and not even a second interview, and then boom, I'm hired with the same level of experience that I had previously. And that's the difference. That's the difference. I gave up, but God didn't give up on me. God knew exactly what I needed and where I needed to be in that moment. And He was still orchestrating, He was doing things. And sometimes we feel like God is too slow. Like, I need you to hurry up and get her done, because what I'm dealing with is unbearable. I'm trying, I'm pounding the pavement, I'm doing everything, I'm doing all the things. And what I'm dealing with is like, you're taking a long time. I thought you said that He would come, will not tarry. And I'm trying to remind you of that. And we want God to fast forward things. And that's not how God works all the time. He's a God of suddenly, where He can change things in the blink of an eye. But sometimes there are things that God has to take time to do. And sometimes it's about growing us as well. And sometimes it's about us being able to totally depend on Him to do what needs to be done in our lives. And sometimes God has to orchestrate things to make sure the right doors are going to be opening, making sure the right people are in place or moved out of the place, so that way He can move you into where He needs you to be. And so, because I gave up on myself, I gave up on God, God still circled back. He still bit the block and didn't give up on me, and blessed me with that opportunity where I learned so much. I was trained in so many different things and skills that I still can remember to this day, even though that was so many years ago. And one thing that I can say that I'm so grateful about, not just that experience and that opportunity and what I learned and how I was able to bless people, and I was blessed in that situation, but I'm so grateful to God that He didn't allow me to end things. He didn't allow me to take my own life through those 2 suicide attempts. And he allowed me to still be here because that's a blessing in itself. There's so much that God has allowed me to be able to do still being here on this earth. There's so many assignments that came after that to be a blessing to other people, to help them, to encourage them, to guide them, to be an advocate for them, to mentor them, to coach them. There's so much that God has still allowed me to do over the years in my life that had I ended it, there would have been a lot of things that did not get accomplished that he needed me to do. Yes, he can use anybody, but there still were things that God needed me to do. He needed my voice for. He needed my me for. And there's things that he needed to use me as a vessel for. God can do anything. And like I said, he can use anybody, but there were still things that he wanted to do through me. There were still things he needed to do in me. And so I'm so grateful because God has blessed me to meet so many people. He's blessed me to minister to so many people, to encourage so many people. And not a lot of folks even know about the suicide attempts. That was something I even kept from my own immediate family for years. My parents, I didn't tell people about it out of embarrassment, out of, the shame of how could you be so stupid, or how could you do something like that? How could that be the decision that you made? But when you are in a situation where you feel like that's the only option is to give up, then sometimes suicide is what seems like what's best. And so on the other side of it, in hindsight, I know that that was not the best choice. But when you're going through that thing, when you're dealing with those situations, sometimes it feels like that's what's best. And sometimes it feels like, I'm gonna just go off the grid. I'm gonna walk away from everybody and everything, and I'm gonna live life the way I choose to live it. Like, we all make choices. We really do. And the thing is, we have to live with the choices that we make. And I always remember those decisions to commit suicide those two times. I remember that vividly. And I'm sharing in true transparency with the world because there's somebody that may be in the same space. There's somebody that may even know somebody that's in that space, that you hear my voice, you hear God speaking through me in this moment, and it may save your life. It may do what God did for me, and he may use me to do it for you. And so I want to encourage you on to this day. Don't give up. No matter what you're facing, no matter how hard it may be, if you're dealing with the illness in your body, if you're dealing with the illness in your family, if you're dealing with, I've been rejected so many times and I'm applying for everything. I've gotten my resume professionally done. I've done all the things that I know how to do. I'm networking and I still can't catch a break. I'm up for foreclosure for my home. I'm up for eviction for my home. I'm dealing with, I can't have deal with a sick child. I'm dealing with so many things in my marriage, like whatever it is that you may be dealing with, because we all deal with a lot of different things in this thing called life. I'm here to encourage you, don't give up. Don't let your circumstances and your situations win. Don't let everything that you're dealing with weigh so heavily on you that you forget who you are, that you forget who God is, that you forget that God is bigger than any situation and any circumstance and any problem that you could ever face. And when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to me because life be life a lot. And the economy that we're living in, the times that we're living in, it's hard right now a lot of times to feel like you can put one foot in front of the other and keep going. It's hard when you're looking at everything that's going on, from all the stuff happening to Israel to the stuff that's happening in our own backyard. Sometimes it feels like it's so hard to keep going, but I encourage you, don't give up. Joy really does come in the morning light. I can't tell you which morning it's going to come, but joy really does come. And so I want you to make sure that you understand that you don't have to give up. You don't have to allow everything in your life that's going wrong to win. We can always find beauty in anything. Any day above ground, that's a reason to give thanks. Any day that you have breath in your body, you have people around you who love you, you have different things going on, you have something happening in your life, that's a day to give thanks. And so I encourage you, like I said, don't give up. Don't let your situations or your circumstances win. Trust that God is with you, that he will never leave you nor forsake you. And one thing I will also share is, and this is one verse and one scripture that I really like, because I feel like it speaks to me in different ways, is Matthew chapter 11, verses 27 through 30. And it's really saying, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke, not mine, but his yoke, is easy and my burden is light." I will also encourage you to meditate on Proverbs 3, 5 through 6. But also one passage that I really enjoy is Joshua 1, verses 1 through 9. Like, that really speaks to me a lot, and it helps me to stay encouraged, to not be dismayed, to trust and know that God is with me, that everywhere he sends me, he's right there with me. He's already preceded me, and where I'm going, I'm just catching up. And so I encourage you to meditate on those scriptures and just think about where you are in your life, to surrender to God and allow him to take the lead, and don't give up. I pray that this blesses you. I hope that you have an amazing day. Like, subscribe, share with your peoples, and I hope you have so many things that comes that's your way that is amazing in your life and in your family. Peace and love. It's your girl, Dr. J.